Here are the 8 deadliest predators that ever lived on Earth. If you think the lion is the king of the jungle, I'm sorry to inform you that it's practically a domestic cat compared to the monsters that once roamed, swam, and even flew across our planet. We're talking about creatures that didn't ask permission from anyone. Not because they were polite, but because, well, there was no one above them to fear. These were the true rulers of the food chain. That VIP spot reserved for those with only one enemy: hunger. And sometimes others of the same species looking for a fight, or at most, the ticking clock of natural apocalypse. These predators lived in times where hunting or being hunted was almost literal. But for them, the second option was never on the menu. Let's start with this one. The Tyrannosaurus Rex. Imagine a creature 12 meters long and weighing 9 tons. Yes, I said 9 tons. That's basically the weight of 2 African elephants, but with teeth the size of bananas. Teeth that were 30 centimeters long and perfectly designed to crush bones like they were ice cream cones. Running at speeds over 20 kilometers per hour, the T-Rex was basically an out-of-control truck, but with hunger. And we're not talking about any hunger. It could take down whole hadrosaurids and still have room for dessert. By the way, its bite is the most powerful ever recorded in the history of life on Earth. Almost 6 tons of force. It's like it could crush a car with a single bite. Imagine being prey in front of something like that. It's an instant game over. And look, I could start this list talking about Spinosaurus, with its diva-like aquatic fin, or any other large predator from the Cretaceous. But let's face it, the T-Rex was the guy. Oh, and don't think it was just an relentless hunter. It was also the biggest opportunist in prehistory. Imagine stealing a carcass from another predator, and no one has the guts to complain. Why? Let's be real. Who in their right mind would take on the king of the Cretaceous? Megalodon. Now let's leave dry land and dive, literally, into the depths of terror with the Megalodon. Yes, you've probably heard of this legendary shark, but nothing prepares you for the fact that it was basically the battle tank of the oceans. Imagine a shark 18 meters long. That's bigger than a school bus. And to make it even worse, it weighed about 50 tons. Yes, 50 tons. That's the weight of 10 African elephants, and it was still faster than you'd ever want it to be. Now let's talk about teeth. The teeth of the Megalodon. Each could reach 18 centimeters, roughly the size of a remote control. And it had around 276 teeth arranged in rows that worked like a bone-crushing machine. Speaking of its bite, it was absolutely insane. It's estimated that the Megalodon could exert more than 18 tons of force per square centimeter. That's like crushing an entire car, and then still looking for dessert. And its menu? Forget sardines or goldfish. The Megalodon hunted whales. Yes, entire whales. It attacked with such force that it could break a whale's rib bones like they were twigs. And we're not talking about 1 or 2 whales. This giant was the ultimate ocean cleaner, devouring anything that dared swim nearby. If you think sharks are scary today, be grateful that the Megalodon is no longer around, because back then, it didn't just dominate the oceans, it practically was the oceans. Titanoboa. If it has Titan in the name, you already know it's not something small. Titanoboa. Just the name sounds like something straight out of a nightmare. And trust me, it's not by chance. This prehistoric snake wasn't just big, it was colossal. We're talking about a monster that could reach 13 meters in length and weigh over a ton. That's roughly the length of a school bus, but with the difference that this bus would crush you flat like a pancake. Titanoboa lived shortly after the dinosaurs went extinct during the Paleocene around 60 million years ago, and with no worthy competition, it seemed to claim the throne as the most terrifying predator on Earth. It ruled the tropical rainforests of what is now Colombia, and its diet: entire prehistoric crocodilians. That's right, its snack of choice was giant crocodiles, and they didn't have much say in the matter. The Titanoboa's constriction power was on a completely different level of terrifying. It's estimated that it could apply about 400 psi of pressure, the equivalent of having a ton of weight crushing you per square centimeter. In practical terms, if it got a hold of you, not only would you stop breathing, but your bones would turn to dust before you could even scream for help. Now, imagine running into one of these in the middle of the jungle. Thankfully, it preferred to hunt in the water, where it could use its massive size and weight to completely dominate anything that dared cross its path. Giant fish, crocodiles, other reptiles, everything became lunch for the titanoboa. Of course, we can all breathe a sigh of relief that it's extinct, because honestly, what it did to the rivers and lakes of prehistory would turn any modern beach into the setting of a horror movie. Smilodon. The Smilodon, the famous saber-toothed tiger, or, as I like to call it, the carnivore that took the saying, "cut to the chase," very seriously. If you think modern lions are scary, just wait until you meet this prehistoric feline that roamed the earth during the Pleistocene. Weighing up to 300 kilos of pure muscle and sporting canines that reached an impressive 30 centimeters, the Smilodon was practically a walking hunting machine. And you know what its specialty was? Brutal, direct attacks. While today's big cats focus on suffocating their prey, the Smilodon didn't have time for such finesse. It sank its massive fangs into the neck or throat of its target, severing arteries and ending the fight in seconds. It's almost as if it had a motto: no drama, just results. But don't think it was an Olympic sprinter. Despite its serial killer looks, the Smilodon wasn't exactly fast. It was more of the strong and strategic type. With its short, sturdy legs, it likely relied on ambush tactics, stalking giant sloths, bison, or anything big enough to serve as a feast. Because let's be honest, small prey wasn't worth the effort. There's evidence that the Smilodon may have lived in groups, which means that if you saw one, there were probably others waiting in the wings to make sure dinner was a team event. Hatzegopteryx. This creature wasn't just a giant pterosaur, it was the giant pterosaur. With a wingspan of 10 to 12 meters and a 3-meter-long skull, yes, 3 meters, it looked more like a prehistoric flying machine than an actual animal. For perspective, its head was bigger than most couches in your house. Except, instead of being comfortable, it was your worst nightmare. This winged titan lived in what is now Romania, which was an island during the late Cretaceous. It was so bizarre that paleontologists still debate whether it was an active hunter or a scavenger. But let's be honest, with a head that size and a beak as sharp as a sword, do you really think it needed to wait for scraps? It likely hunted small dinosaurs and other unlucky animals that crossed its path. After all, who would argue with a flying predator that looked like a prehistoric version of a fighter jet? And don't be fooled by its mastery of the skies. On the ground, it was just as intimidating, walking like something straight out of a nightmare, with its folded wings doubling as additional legs. Imagine a predator nearly 6 meters tall, lurking as if it didn't have a care in the world. It's literally the kind of thing you'd expect to see only in science fiction movies. Terror bird. Yes, terror. You don't need much imagination to get the message. This giant bird wasn't the kind you'd keep in a chicken coop. Let's face it, any creature with a skull the size of a horse's and terror in its name wasn't made to be cute. The Kelenken, the largest of the terror birds, was the prehistoric upgrade to every bird you've ever seen. It didn't fly like the pterosaurs, but it made up for it by being a walking destruction machine. Imagine looking ahead and seeing a 3-meter-tall creature, weighing about 200 kilos, with a razor-sharp 70-centimeter beak that resembled a guillotine, staring you down like it's deciding on the day's main course. That's the kind of encounter that forever changes your perception of birds. It didn't have teeth, but honestly, it didn't need them. It literally used its beak like a sledgehammer, delivering brutal blows capable of crushing bones or cutting straight to a prey's vital organs. Now imagine being that prey and watching that beak come down toward you. It's goodbye, world, in record time. What's even more fascinating is that while the Hatzegopteryx ruled the skies of the Cretaceous, the Kelenken showed that the ground could be just as dangerous. With muscular legs, it could run up to 50 kilometers per hour, turning every chase into an inevitable game over for its victims. Nature gave the Kelenken all the tools it needed to be the ultimate terrestrial nightmare. Sarcosuchus. If you think modern crocodiles are intimidating, get ready to meet this apex predator from the Cretaceous. This beast could grow up to 12 meters long and weigh around 8 tons. This wasn't just a crocodile. It was practically a submarine with teeth. Let's talk about its mouth. The Sarcosuchus had a seemingly endless snout, making up nearly 2 meters of its total length. And those teeth, oh, it had an arsenal of over 100 cone-shaped teeth, perfect for grabbing onto anything foolish enough to approach the water. It wasn't exactly picky about its prey. If it moved, it was on the menu. And what was on the menu, you ask? Basically, anything that wasn't smart enough to stay far away. It hunted giant fish, careless dinosaurs, and likely any other animal that made the mistake of drinking water in the wrong place. Studies suggest it had enough strength to drag smaller dinosaurs straight to the bottom of rivers and lakes. Picture yourself as an iguanodon, peacefully sipping some water, and suddenly you're turned into a dinosaur smoothie. And of course, like any giant predator, the Sarcosuchus ruled its territory with little competition. It inhabited the rivers of Africa and South America, turning any creature living there into a potential snack. Mosasaurus. Now let's talk about the Mosasaurus, or as I like to call it, the aquatic nightmare of the Cretaceous. Imagine a giant crocodile that decided to become an even more terrifying version and went to the sea to dominate everything and everyone. This monster could reach an impressive 17 meters in length, bigger than a city bus, and weighed up to 6 tons. In other words, if the Megalodon was the king of the oceans in its time, the Mosasaurus was the tyrant that came before, ensuring no one emerged unscathed from a swim in the Cretaceous seas. Let's talk about its mouth. The Mosasaurus's jaw was an insane combination of brute force and lethal efficiency. Its teeth were sharp and curved backward, perfect for gripping prey as it swallowed them whole. Yes, whole. It was practically the forerunner of marine horror movies, devouring sharks, giant fish, squids, and even other mosasaurs. After all, why share the ocean when you can just eat your neighbor, right? And its bite? Science suggests it was so powerful it could crush bones as easily as someone crunching a potato chip. Now, add to that the fact that it was incredibly agile in the water, propelled by its flippers and a long muscular tail. It didn't swim, it flew through the water. Hey, survivors! After meeting these deadly monsters that once ruled the Earth, the question is, how do we still have the nerve to complain about a little lizard on the wall or a shark in a movie? If you think you'd have survived an encounter with any of these giants, congratulations, you're optimistic. But the truth is, for most of us, the only way to make it out alive would be by waking up from this prehistoric nightmare. Now it's your turn to shine. Which of these predators did you find the most terrifying? Or is there another monster from the past that you think deserved to be on our list? Comment below. Who knows, maybe it'll show up in a future video. Oh, and before you run off like you're being chased by a Sarcosuchus, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to the Instinto Feroz channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any brutal content like this. And of course, share this video on your social media. Who knows, maybe you'll save a friend from a modern-day Kelenken out there. See you in the next video.